I have reviewed a few creepypastas in the past, and today I'm going to be reviewing 3 of them, all of which are moderately famous and all of which fall short in different ways. While not as bad as Sonic EXE Round 2 or Clockwork, these stories say a lot about the creepypasta subculture. Let's just dive in. First is a story that, while not terrible or even really bad per se, is still sort of clumsy. I don't get why this is one of the most famous creepypastas ever written. It's a story called Normal Porn for Normal People. But before examining this story further, I need to tell you a little bit more about creepypastas. Like pretty much everything else, the nature of folklore changed with widespread use of the internet. Nowadays, people get their urban legends online, and many of them, such as Ben Drowned, Funny Mouth, and Candle Cove, not only implement the internet into their plots, they're part of the formatting. This subcategory of creepypasta is sort of like the found footage horror film. Like in those movies, one of the selling points to these kind of stories is that they could have happened. Normal Porn for Normal People is close to being like that, but it falls short. Some unnamed person talks about an odd website they found after getting a strange email. The site is called normalpornfornormalpeople.com, and it's filled with some strange videos. Not all of them are pornographic, but almost all of them are disturbing. Some are pretty explicit, and I won't tell you all the details, but the themes include animal cruelty, cruelty to the disabled, kidnapping, assault, and one of the videos is just a grisly, violent, and graphic murder. These are all pretty standard in terms of horror, but there was one very stupid moment on the part of the narrator when describing one of them. The video in question is just of a woman playing a violin and being interviewed in a room that goes on for about 4 minutes. Then the narrator says, and I am directly quoting here, "I didn't notice this until someone on the image board thread pointed it out, but if you look at the mirror in the background, you can see a fat man in a chicken mask masturbating." Wow. Considering not only that there was pretty much nothing else happening in the 4-minute video, but also that they could tell that this man was A, fat, B, wearing a chicken mask, and C, masturbating, means that it had to have been a moderately large and clear image. So the fact that anybody could watch that entire video and never notice that strikes me as extremely contrived. I'm sure that the narrator sees nothing wrong with this picture either. People discuss the videos from the site on online forums, but shortly after the video with the murder in it was released, all traces of the site are just wiped from the internet. And anybody who tries to bring it up are blocked and banned. 2 things. First off, unless the people behind the site are like the Illuminati and run the internet, there is no reason why anybody would go to this length to get rid of any evidence of this site. I can understand the site being taken down, but there is no logic to the Orwellian erasure from the public consciousness. Also, if pretty much all online discussions about this site are taken down, it's sort of strange that I am literally reading a detailed online article about the site right now. Whoops. I guess the Internet Illuminati missed this one. Somehow. Leaps and logic aside, the real problem with this story is that it is way too vague and could use so much more expanding. It's pretty easy to tell both from the title and the nature of the videos what was going on with this site. Most likely this involves some group or even a cult that get pleasure from being cruel to others, and are insane enough to believe that they're the normal ones, so they got together off the grid and made these videos. That's why it's called Normal Porn for Normal People. But it would have been nice if that was ever stated or even implied in the story. The way that urban legends usually work is that something strange happens, and people speculate. With this story, we only got half of that. I mean, the narrator keeps talking about online forums about this site. I'm sure there was some speculation on there. There could have been an investigation into the site and the people behind it. This could have been a case file. There's so much room for expansion here. But none of that is ever taken advantage of. This could have been something really dark and shocking to the level of home movie, but all it ended up being was sort of weird and gross. Say we'd won about 1999, it at least went all out. Normal Porn for Normal People, on the other hand, is a study in wasted potential. Next up is Herobrine, which would have been fine if it weren't for one thing. This review won't take that long at all. Somebody, once again we know absolutely nothing about them, sees something weird while playing Minecraft. It's a strange humanoid character that doesn't stay in sight for long and does strange things. The writing is fine and subtle enough to be somewhat effective. The narrator tries to discuss it on forums, but like in the last story, they keep getting blocked, this time by somebody named Herobrine. It wasn't until somebody contacts the narrator with an email that we learned that plenty of gamers have seen this thing. But then the author makes the mistake of being too on the nose. Apparently, Herobrine is a username often used by a Swedish gamer, who happens to be the brother of Notch, the creator of Minecraft. And the real kicker? The brother is dead. That would have been really clever if it wasn't so easy to disprove. Notch does not have a brother in real life, dead or no. This absolutely kills the realism that the story actually did have up to that point. I know that I'm complaining about the implausibility of a creepypasta, but this could have been fixed so easily. Just make Herobrine the username of some random gamer who died while playing Minecraft. There, it's so much better. Once again, this story could have been a lot more than what it turned out to be. The last story is Squidward's Suicide, which, unlike the other two, is actually really bad. In fact, Squidward's Suicide has the distinction of being one of the most aggressively cliched and worthless creepypastas that I have ever read. It's like you loaded a bunch of creepypasta cliches into a program, and the program just combined them together and spit out this. The cliches in this story include kids' shows, tent swaps, hyperrealism, crying, more tent swaps, images that last a few frames, dead children, even more tent swaps, blood, long periods of dead air, and seriously, this thing tent swaps like every other sentence. The story also has a title even worse than Jeff the Killer. On planet Logic, the horror would come from the shock and surprise of Squidward blowing his brain out with a shotgun. Instead, that moment is spoiled 3 times. 2 if you're not reading the version with a picture of the title card. That means that this story is an automatic and complete fail before we even start reading. And it only gets worse from there, people. Unnamed narrator number 3 is a male intern in Nickelodeon. Not only does he work with the key animators and editors, but he gets to see final cuts of the episodes before they air. This is all, at the very least, far-fetched. You know, he could have just been like a production assistant or one of the animators or an editor or something, but that would make sense, so of course not. Apparently, something spooky happened to the final cut of a SpongeBob episode, and by spooky, I mean stupid. Allow me to describe it, and see if you can spot a running pattern. Squidward bombs at a clarinet concert, and the crowd boos him. They all have red, hyper-realistic eyes for no expressed reason. It then cuts to Squidward crying in his room, and then there's a sound like wind. Why there's wind or what significance that has is never explained. By the way, the word sound is used way too many times. Then increasingly louder laughing is heard. Then 3 pictures of dead children are shown, none of them for more than a few frames at a time. Who these kids were, who the murderer was, who the photographer was, why they killed them, how they died, why they took the picture, or why they decided to edit it into this episode is never explained, implied, or guessed. I think you're starting to see the pattern here, right? There is no reason for or significance to anything that happens. It's just a bunch of things that I'm sure sounded scary put together. Squidward's eyes then become red, bleeding, pulsating, crying, bloodshot, hyper-realistic, creepy 666. A voice yells, "Do it," and Squidward blows his brain out with a shotgun. Then is the first attempt at connection, with Squidward having one pop/dangling eye, something that the 3 dead kids also had. They also had entrails hanging out, but the episode ends right after this suicide. Here is my best guess at what this all means. Some random thing, be it a witch or a demon or whatever, has the ability to make people shoot themselves with a shotgun in exactly the same way every time, which is why all of them have the same dangling eyeball, and it then eats their guts. So in order to get the word out about its murders, it takes pictures of the 3 kids it killed and edits them into a hack copy of a SpongeBob episode. Since Squidward had creepy eyes before he killed himself, I guess that means the entire crowd must have committed suicide after the episode cut away from that. It then killed Squidward and proceeded to eat his guts after the episode ended. It was a warning saying, "I killed those kids, I killed Squidward, and soon I will kill you all!" It all adds up. What the hell am I talking about? Yeah, there's no logic to anything that happened in Squidward's Suicide. In fact, as you just heard, any attempts on the reader's part to add logic just makes it dumber. And you know what happened after that? Absolutely nothing. There were no more hackings, no more paranormal activity, and nobody ever talked about it again. Why exactly do so many people like this story? Alright, those are the reviews. As we can plainly tell, creepypastas come in all shapes and sizes, and can fail in so many different kinds of ways. But at least we can laugh at some of the worst ones. I'll see you next time.